slowing down. Are you worried at all about the whole economic in China?
Yeah, I think it's worrying, but if we define a hard landing as 4 consecutive quarters of growth below 6%, then I think China may scrape by, but the PBOC itself has said that growth below 7% puts China into crisis mode, so I think it is in crisis mode. On a relative basis, it's still growing considerably compared with Europe, for instance, but for a big country like China, it poses a problem.
Mm-hmm. What about the Chinese stock market? Last year, in the end of the year, it's very volatile, but what about this year, looking forward?
Yeah, we're seeing volatility, and I think there's a lack of confidence. People are afraid. They feel they don't really know what to go by because the government intervenes in the stock market. There are a lot of state companies, and the government measures make it unpredictable. But I don't think that that the stock market is a perfect reflection of the economy. I think to some degree they're mutually intertwined, interdependent, of course. But I think the gyrations on the stock market are exaggerated because there has been a lot of gambling and it's just still correcting itself.
Mm-hmm. Policymakers play a very important role in China. What do you think the Chinese policymakers should do to keep the market maybe more healthy?
Well, I think uncertainty is what investors fear most. So for the PBOC and the government to be more predictable and seem less arbitrary, I think would be very helpful, and also to communicate more clearly. It's very difficult, as we see with the US Fed and the European Central Bank. They are very, very cautious in their communications, and even they manage to move the markets. But I think that both those factors would contribute to confidence.
Here we are all here because Davos Forum, of course, and this Industrial 4.0 come from Germany originally. Which country do you think will play a leading role in the transformation in the Industrial 4.0?
Well, Germany is a very sophisticated country, has sophisticated technology, but I think China is definitely catching up. It has bought a lot of know-how, and it's developing. I think also the U.S. is probably going to be very strong, just mentality-wise. They are very free in their thinking. They're very innovative. The government stimulates that, and also capital markets are conducive to that development, because if you have an idea and just a garage to work with, you can make a fortune in the U.S. You can build something. It's much harder in Europe.
What about the economy in the European countries overall? Do you think your countries have already come out of the problems in the past few years?
Yeah, I think Europe is very worrying. I think China may balance itself out, but China cannot be an engine for growth for the rest of the world. And in Europe, we see strong deflationary pressures. Demographics aren't good. Now we're getting a lot of refugees, but that worries people because those are low qualified people, their skills, and so these jobs are going to be replaced increasingly by technology. So we're also worried about political stability, social cohesion, and what to do with unemployment is still rather high.
Mm-hmm. And also in the U.S., you live in the U.S. So what about U.S. economy and the Fed policy? Fed just raised their rates. They're expecting to raise 4 times this year. What do you think?
I think the Federal Reserve will be very cautious. It's hard to predict at this point. It depends on so many different factors. What we're seeing right now is a multitude of different risks, geopolitical risks, geoeconomic risks, and they're all overlapping each other and they're reinforcing each other. What can be a trigger point or a turning point, nobody can really say. But I think that the U.S. Economy as such is relatively stable. Growth has slowed down somewhat, but I'm still confident about growth, and it's considered a safe haven when everything else goes haywire, also the U.S. dollar.